Have you ever been in that one friendship where everything is complicated? Well, such friendships also exist in cartoons. We're talking about friendships where chaos, selfishness, manipulation, and betrayal are the order of the day. The only difference is that these cartoon duos are on a whole other level that might leave you feeling like yours isn't toxic at all. Here are the worst cartoon friends of all time. First up are Bender and Fry from Futurama. These two are the textbook definition of toxic. Bender only cares about himself and only shows up for Fry when he needs something. He's nothing but a walking disaster who has no regard for Fry's feelings. Take, for example, the time he threw Fry's fossilized dog into lava because he was jealous.
I thought you were my friend, but if you love your dog so much, maybe you'd rather play fetch!
This left Fry devastated, and the emotional bond he had with his long-lost dog Seymour was destroyed in seconds. And Bender's reaction? Like, who does that? Well, Bender's programming is clearly not suited for friendship with humans. I mean, he even stole Fry's blood more than once. Remember the time he stole Fry's kidney and tried to sell it? He always drags Fry into illegal and dangerous activities like bank robberies and cheating at poker. Bender clearly has no regard for Fry's well-being. Their friendship is all about Bender getting what he wants while Fry's hurting. But you can't blame it all on Bender. Fry's gullible nature always attracts him to engage in Bender's schemes, and he always forgives Bender for his awful behavior. Fry is desperate for companionship because he's lonely in the future, and this makes him overlook the fact that Bender isn't a great friend. Their friendship is so one-sided that it's painful to watch. Now, if we're talking about one-sided friendships, we have to mention Heather and Lindsay from Total Drama Island. Heather is a masterclass manipulator who makes their relationship a train wreck. She only maintains Lindsay in her circle of friends for her own gain. To Heather, Lindsay is just a pawn she uses to sabotage others in the competition and boost her own position in the game. Remember that one time she made Lindsay dismantle one of the contestants' bikes?
See that motor thingy with all the fancy exhausts? Dismantle it.
Their entire friendship is built on control, and Heather also makes Lindsay take all the blame when things go wrong. Poor Lindsay, she actually trusted Heather and thought that they were genuine friends. Face it, Lindsay, all you do is Heather's dirty work, and she's just using you in order to win. Lindsay later realizes that Heather had been playing her the whole time after the bike challenge, and she snaps. Lindsay's loyalty to their friendship only gets her manipulated constantly by her so-called friend, and you can't help but feel sorry for her. But hey, at least she finally realized that Heather was just using her. Next up are Penny and La Cienega from the Proud family. These two might seem like your normal frenemies who argue but eventually get along. However, when you dig deeper, their friendship is all about control, and it's La Cienega who calls all the shots. You know that friend who always humiliates you and then all of a sudden acts like they're just kidding? Yeah, that's La Cienega. This girl thrives on making Penny feel insecure with her sarcastic compliments and sneaky insults, all while pretending to be her friend. In She's Got Game, Penny has mad football skills and even has a big game. But La Cienega didn't show up to support her. She's a horrible friend. I mean, she doesn't even care to thank Penny after she risked her life to save her from being launched into outer space by the Gross Sisters' trap. This friendship really takes a toll on Penny, and the worst part about it is that she always tries to fix things between them. She's always giving La Cienega second chances, probably because their families are so close. However, La Cienega isn't interested in mending things at all. Let's be real here. She only wants to keep walking all over Penny because it's the only thing she's good for. It's just exhausting to watch Penny do everything to salvage a friendship where she only gets manipulated all the time. Moving on, we've got Rigby and Mordecai from the regular show. These two are the perfect example of bad influence. They're an absolute disaster, and it's all thanks to Rigby. Rigby is reckless and immature, constantly dragging Mordecai into trouble with his terrible ideas. He's self-destructive, and Mordecai is very aware of that, but for some reason he always goes along with his poorly thought-out ideas. Like that one time Rigby convinced him to throw a massive party at work. The party ended up in chaos as the place was wrecked and their boss was turned into a ghost. It was a disaster, and mind you, that was just a regular day for these two. Rigby's lazy. He always ends up ruining things and then goes on ahead to gaslight Mordecai into believing that it's his fault that things went south.
You threw me under the bus!
What? When?
When Vincent told us to clean the room, you ratted me out!
What's even crazier is that Mordecai is the smart one, and he knows better. But somehow he always lets Rigby drag him into one mess after another. It's like he doesn't know how to say no. Honestly, all he does is just enable Rigby's reckless behavior. Their friendship is just a toxic cycle of bad decisions where neither of them ever seems to grow or learn from their mistakes. Rigby clearly brings out the worst in Mordecai. They crash and burn together, and honestly, it's a miracle that they survive most of the time. Next on our list, we've got Finn and Jake from Adventure Time. These two may seem like an epic duo who go on cool adventures and always have each other's backs. However, the sad reality is that their friendship is everything but healthy. Jake is supposed to be the older and wiser one, but all he does is laze around. He always goes missing when things get tough, and this leaves Finn to deal with the monsters all by himself. Poor Finn. He always ends up with more than what he can handle while Jake hangs out with Lady Rainicorn or does absolutely nothing. Their friendship is full of adventures, sure, however, it's one of the most one-sided friendships in cartoon history. Jake always encourages Finn to take unnecessary risks, only for him to bail on him with the first chance he gets. Honestly, Finn is more of a problem than a solution. What's painful is that Finn is so loyal that he doesn't even realize that he's the one taking all the responsibility. Finn surely deserves a better friend who's committed to their friendship. Let's now look at SpongeBob and Patrick from SpongeBob SquarePants. When it comes to chaos, this duo is in a league of their own. Patrick is SpongeBob's goofy sidekick, and there's no doubt that they're friends. However, despite him being well-meaning, his stupidity makes him a walking disaster. I mean, he's always ruining SpongeBob's life half of the time when they're together. Remember the time he pretended to be a genius so that he could gain SpongeBob's respect? He only ended up manipulating SpongeBob emotionally so much that SpongeBob was left questioning his own intelligence. Quite ironic for a guy who's claiming to be a genius. Everything Patrick touches always goes wrong, and SpongeBob is the one left to clean up his messes. Take, for example, the time he offered to help SpongeBob with his boating test. And how did that go?
That way! Cheat that way!
Instead of calling out Patrick for his actions, all SpongeBob does is smile, forgive him, and they move on to the next disaster. And this just enables Patrick to continue with his endless destructive actions. It's fun to watch them, but one can't help but sympathize with SpongeBob for how much he has to put up with. Finally, we've got Rick and Morty. This is one of the most dysfunctional grandpa and grandson duos ever. Rick is just a self-centered scientist who constantly puts Morty in danger for his own amusement. Poor Morty is so desperate for Rick's approval that he just goes along with Rick's life-threatening ideas. And this is even when he clearly knows that they're dangerous and emotionally draining. Rick is a narcissist who manipulates and traumatizes Morty almost all the time. He knows very well that Morty can do anything for his approval, and he takes advantage of that. Rick also enjoys making fun of Morty's ideas, like when he constantly mocked Morty's first adventure in Fantasyland. It wasn't until they reached a pub that he actually enjoyed it. He also tampered with Morty's memories in Morty's Mind Blowers by taking away some of his memories without permission. Dude literally made Morty re-experience all the worst moments of his life. Talk about emotional abuse. The truth is that Rick is never going to change, and Morty's the one paying the price for their so-called friendship. So there you guys have it. My pick for the worst cartoon friends of all time. Who did I leave out on the list? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more cartoon content.